Good evening. I'd like to welcome you all to the budget presentation for the MRUSD budget for 2023. We will be showing a short video and then we'll open it up to questions. And we have Superintendent Kimball and Business Manager Martha Gagne here to help us with the answering part. I do have a question. Are there public in the room?
There are two.
Thank you. And do we have people on the remote that are public also?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think we can start our presentation.
Should the public scoot their chairs around?
Yeah, no, Stephen, but you might want to come so you can see it just enough so you can, thank you, Peter. So they can see what, it's been online, so it's nothing new.
I've seen them all.
You've seen them all, okay.
Hello, welcome to the video presentation of the proposed 2023-24 Maple Run Unified School District budget. I'm Nina Hunsaker, Vice Chair of the MRUSD Board. I work with Nilda Ganell-French, who is the Chair of the MRUSD Board. Maple Run is the school district of 5 schools and the Colin Purley's campus. We serve over 2,700 students across our schools. In a few minutes, you'll hear from our Superintendent Bill Kimball and our Business Manager Martha Gagne. They'll walk you through the really important details of this proposed budget. Before explaining the budget details, I thought it would be essential to explain the budget development process, the goals, and the board's role. As we develop a budget, our primary goal is to focus on MRUSD mission and students' needs within the community's cost. The Maple Run Unified School District is where inquiring minds, compassionate hearts, creative expression, healthy lives, and service to the community develop so all can learn, achieve, and succeed. In addition, our board has developed a moral imperative for why we do the work. The Maple Run School Board believes it is our moral imperative to ensure that all students feel a sense of belonging and a safety in our educational community so they learn and grow throughout their pre-K through 12 career and beyond. In November, we asked the school administration to create a budget that would keep in place our current programs and ensure supports for our students at risk. We are confident that our adopted budget does this. With that, I'd like to introduce Superintendent Bill Kimball to provide more detail on how Maple Run is both implementing our vision and supporting all students.
Hello, my name is Bill Kimball, and I am the Superintendent of Maple Run Unified School District. This year, the schools and the district have been able to run schools more accustomed to what we expected before the pandemic. The greater community has returned to the buildings, and our regular events with full attendance have happened without masks and COVID restrictions. We administered our semi-annual student climate survey and found that approximately 80% of our students feel safe, welcomed, and belong. This has increased approximately 20% from last year. While many of our students have a positive outlook on the school environment, there are those who still struggle a great deal. In particular, we have found students need increasingly more support, while our outside partners cannot provide it. With the worker shortage affecting all aspects of our economy, our social service partners have had limited capacity to serve their clients. For schools, this means we must serve them. Education is the only social service that cannot deny services. Therefore, we've had to increase our supports to students and families. The Maple Run Board has supported the district by doing this by using both federal grant funds and local dollars. The fiscal year 2023-2024 budget funds all of our locally funded programs and offerings at all 5 of our schools. In addition, stabilizes approximately $1 million of student support services that were funded through federal grants that will sunset either in 2023-24 or 2024-25 school years. 10.5 full-time positions were moved into the local budget. They include math, literacy, social emotional interventionalists, teachers, social workers, school safety workers, and behavior support positions. I now want to introduce Martha Gagne, Maple Run's business manager, to present an overview of this year's budget and how it affects the tax rates in each of our communities.
Hi, I'm Martha Gagne, the business manager for the Maple Run Unified School District. In order to make education happen in Maple Run, there is an operations team which supports our amazing teachers and support staff. These individuals keep our buildings clean and in good repair, ensure our students have transportation to and from school, offer after-school co-curricular and extracurricular opportunities, manage our IT systems, provide student support, financial and human resource services, and work with our outside partners to provide over 58,000 meals a month to students. All of this is to support a $64+ million a year enterprise. We work hard to keep expenses down while delivering the services the district expects and needs. The proposed budget for the fiscal year 2023-2024 is $69,422,742. This represents a 7.14% increase over the current year expenditure budget. This increase is primarily driven by salary and benefit increases, along with the addition of the positions described earlier by Superintendent Bill Kimball, and increased costs for our utilities and supplies. Looking at the budget overall, 77% of our budget is allocated to staffing the schools to support our children. Your tax rate is not based solely on the increase in the expenditure budget, but on a host of other state and local funding factors. This year, nearly $64 million in surplus in the state's education fund may be applied. After taking all of those factors into account, Maple Run's education tax rate is estimated to go down more than 2.5 cents. Since we consolidated into a single district in 2017, our education tax rates have been fairly flat. The final step in determining the local tax rate, as seen on your tax bill, is to apply the CLA. CLA stands for Common Level of Appraisal. It is a factor the state applies to the appraised property values in each town so that they more accurately reflect market values. The estimated CLA adjusted tax rate will be up approximately 13 cents in Fairfield, almost 2 cents in St. Albans Town, and 27 cents in St. Albans City. For example, using the CLA adjusted tax rates, it is estimated a $200,000 home site in St. Albans City will see a $545 increase in their property taxes. The same home site value in St. Albans Town will see a $39 increase, and in Fairfield a $266 increase. All of these estimates do not take into consideration income sensitivity. We encourage everyone to apply who is eligible for the income sensitivity adjustment.
We feel this year's budget is a very reasonable budget. The only factor for the board to control is the local budget expenditure and the effect on the tax rate. If we look at the tax rate since the merger without the common level of appraisal, the Maple Run tax rate is 10 cents lower since the start of our district. What we cannot control is increasing value in property in the St. Albans and Fairfield area. Our area is growing rapidly, both in population and property value. The entire tax increase for this year is due to the common level of appraisal, which is a measure of the true property's value, which has increased a great deal, especially in the city. If you have any questions about the budget, we invite you to either contact me or attend a board meeting or our budget forums on February 15th and March 1st at 6 p.m. During these board forums, we will discuss the budget and answer any questions. This has been the first of 6 short films about the Maple Run Unified School District 2023-2024 district budget. In the next 4 videos, we hope to highlight interesting programs the budget supports. Please get out and vote.
Okay. Are there any persons in the room that have any questions related to the budget?
I have comments otherwise, but not related to the budget.
I have a budget question. What is, we can't find, or maybe I've missed it, where it shows per pupil, per school, what is divided out? How much we pay in Fairfield per pupil, how much goes to town, city, doesn't break down that way?
No, it doesn't break down that way anymore with a merged budget.
So is
You
it
can't
an
do that.
equalized per pupil in every school is my question.
It's a equalized pupil rate for the district. It's,
Can you,
well, it's just
Clarify.
one rate because.
so
it's-
each student costs us the same?
Well, roughly, it's equalized pupil count, so it's not a student, it's a weighted student. So high school students are weighted a little bit different than pre-K kids. So it's per equalized pupil.
So my sixth grader in Fairfield is approximately the same. I know we've had huge differentials in the past.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that we became a district so that we would be equal when we're sending our kids to the high school.
So I don't know if you want to kick in here, but there is a difference between equal and equitable.
I get that, I get that.
So-
And you can't use the word equalized pupils,
Okay.
because equalized pupils is not the number of pupils that are in a school
Right.
or in the state of Vermont,
Okay,
because it's a weighted factor, and weights are applied, and there's actually a divisor to get what's
Okay.
called from weighted students into equalized pupils.
okay.
So you can't use that data. This is what's complicated with Vermont's finance system. That data is really used as a way to measure districts against districts, not even schools, about what they spend. It's only done at a district level.
Okay,
If we wanted to know what was spent at each school per district, we could do that. Like you could take, I'm just gonna make up some fictitious
Yeah.
numbers here, okay? $1,000 is spent to run the Fairfield, I'm being facetious
no,
on
no, no,
purpose,
I
okay?
get that, I get that.
$1,000 is spent to run the Fairfield Center School, and we say there's 250 kids, divide it, it's $4 per kid. I did that on purpose. The thing that's hard about that, the cost of a teacher at one school is not the same as the cost of a teacher
Okay.
or an ESP staff because of the index staff level. So you have to go through and then say there'd have to be an adjustment of all the staffing costs because of where people fall on the index.
Okay,
We haven't gone and done that. I have done that modeling in the past, and it gets really super complicated. When we're here as a leadership team talking about what schools need and talking about the overall budget, that's what we talk about. And we know that the staffing model, we know because we know the history and we know the seniority of our staffing at the different schools is different places. Right now, the staffing cost per staff member, I don't have the figures with me, but we
Right,
know it's
no,
the
I can
least
see
at the
that.
city school because of the seniority of the staff. Or it's one of the highest, I don't remember where the highest is, so I shouldn't even guess. I just remember that city was the least. So really, we ask the principals, and they do, of like, what do you need? What do you need for your budget? And to put that together.
so my next, our kids, this is as a taxpayer, not as a teacher. I am a teacher at Fairfield, but I'm a taxpayer and a grandparent. And we fell behind in Fairfield in a lot of different programs when we merged. We don't have a tech person to teach our children technology, and I'm concerned with that. Are our kids going to be ready to go to BFA with the technology knowledge that they should have? As a teacher, I'll put my teacher hat back on, I don't have the time to do that, nor do I have the skills to do all of that. I mean, when something breaks down, I have to ask a 12-year-old to fix it.
So,
But I want to make sure that equal opportunity is being given at all 3 elementary schools.
and I believe it is.
Okay.
And if you want to talk, we can talk about that further, but I believe it is, and I don't believe it's necessarily in the configuration of the staff.
Okay. And what
I don't think we only have one place in all of our K where we have a staff member that teaches technology. And it happens at town school right now, and it's an elective. And I don't believe that I don't believe you need to have a technology teacher to do that role. I think you can find ways of doing that. And I think that can happen in many different ways.
That's one of the things we did have before we merged, was we had a library and technology. So library, technology every other week. But that's just one small thing, but I just wanted to bring it up and ask, because I think if we're all going to the same high school, we should all have the same opportunities. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
So. Do we have any others?
Okay.
Nilda, I think I don't know if anybody else has any questions.
Does anyone else have any questions in the room? Anyone online have any questions related to the budget?
Nope.
Well, I'd like to thank the community for participating in this budget informational meeting. I know that there are people online that watch this, even though they don't own up to who they are. So I'd like to thank those who presented and thank the school board and the business manager and all the leaders at all the schools for their participation in creating the budget. Budget informational meeting is now over. All right. Next step is to have our school board meeting. So I'd like to call the Maple Run Unified School District Board of Directors meeting for March 1st, 2023 to order. The time is 6:17 p.m. and you have your agenda in front of you. First item on the agenda is the agenda review. I have no changes for the agenda. Does anyone else have anything they wanted to talk about adding? Okay, hearing none, the agenda stays as is. Next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I apologize, I'm not going to be standing due to a health issue. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic that stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Okay, next item on the agenda is the visitor section. Do we have any individuals in the room that want to speak at the visitor section?
Yes, we do, Nilda.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm going to read the public information part of this. The public comments visitor section of the meeting is an opportunity for community members to address issues of concern about policy, budget, and administrative matters, or to share ideas about how we can work together to improve our schools. We value input and respect divergent views. We ask you to limit your remarks to time constraints of 2 minutes per topic, please. And also refrain from airing grievances with individual members of the school community, including respecting the privacy of the students and the parents. So those attending remotely that want to speak can also type their name in the system, And I'd like to request that before you speak, you state your name and the community you're from. Thank you.
Steve, you want to go ahead?
Hi, I'm Steve LaRosa, member of the MRUSD community. First, good job on the presentation tonight. I hope the budget passes. Second, two topics if I could. First, I would like to extend my thanks to board member Grant Henderson for 6 years. It's 6, isn't it? 3.
Seems like six.
My apologies still. Scratch that.
It feels like 9 for him.
Anyway, I wanted to say your thoughtful and collaborative approach to this work was an asset to the board and the community, and I wish you well beyond these 4 walls, Grant. Thanks for what you did. On a less pleasant note, I suppose, if I recall correctly, prior to being seated, all board members sign a document that is part of the MRUSD policy, Code A01. It reads in part that board members will, quote, respect my peers, my constituents, and confidentiality considerations, voice opinions respectfully, and treat with respect other board members, administrators, school staff, and members of the public, unquote. I mention this as I believe that board member Mr. Delorier has now twice disregarded this policy. The first instance was in May of 2021 when he belittled members of the public who had been critical of then Superintendent Kevin Durth. The second instance was this past January 4 when he walked out on fellow board member Mr. Erickson and was giving his resignation speech. In this most recent episode, I did reach out to Peter first in emails to see if indeed he felt he had acted appropriately. Our correspondence made clear to me that he does. While I don't doubt Peter's commitment to this community and his belief that his action was appropriate, it is my hope that this board does not see his protest as acceptable behavior. It will not condone such actions in the future. Yes, Mr. Erickson's parting comments were blunt regarding those on this board and those within the community who wish to put the SRO issue onto the March ballot. That said, even if Peter felt Ryer's words were disrespectful, his actions also showed a lack of respect, contradicting stated board policy, as well as, I believe, putting the board in the awkward and uncomfortable position of either openly addressing the situation or ignoring it and appearing by default to condone it. I realize that not everyone sees eye to eye in the many issues that face us today, and it's not always easy to sit and listen to those we disagree with. However, I believe we are better served, that this board is better served by all of us staying in our seats and hearing people out. Mr. Erickson deserved better that night, and I just felt that someone, even belatedly, needed to say that. Thank you so much, and I wish you all a good night.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
You bet, Elda. Take care, everyone.
Bye. Thank you, Steve.
Anyone else have any comments they need to make? Public? Anyone else from the public?
Nobody else in the room, nobody online either.
Okay, well, we're going to move on then to the consent agenda. 3 items on the consent agenda, some minutes, media packet, and staff changes. Anyone have any of these items that they want to pull out for discussion? Hearing none, we're going to accept the consent agenda as is. Reports to board. Our students are on vacation this week, so we have no student report. Next item on the agenda is old business. And first item is implicit bias and anti-racism training. Bill, can you give us an update on that, please?
Yes, I can. I know, as you know, there's been a group of folks made up of parents, students, staff, who are designing a community session to come together and talk about the findings from the creative discourse group and the 5 key areas that they have found and worked with the goals committee on. I'd like to ask all members of the board, there'll be on April 16th, which is a Sunday, there will be a full day of community session, and we'll be inviting people. I'd like you to save that date. There'll be more to come. They're actually working on March 9th as a group to get things put together and get an invitation out. But I'm asking all of you to look at April 16th and seeing if you can join us. And
What time?
it's going to be an all-day affair.
Starting 9.
Probably 9. I don't know exactly right
Okay,
now. I wish I
let's
could
try
give you
that.
a start time.
That's okay.
I can understand trying to put it in the calendar.
Okay.
And then and that will happen all day. They're planning that, like I said, on the 9th. There'll be a lot more information coming out, flyers to save the date. But since I knew that, I wanted to make sure all of you knew that. And it's going to happen at City Hall.
Thank you. Any questions for Bill related to that topic? Next item is negotiations update. Jack, can you give us an update on the
Sure, we've had several meetings, and they've been very, very productive. We are going to have our next meeting a week from tonight, so it'd be March 8th, is it?
Yes.
March 8th?
Yeah.
And we're moving right along.
Thank you. As far as professional staff, we canceled our last meeting due to some circumstances beyond our control, so we'll be meeting in March. Next item on the agenda is the BFA principal update. So most of you know, or you should know, that the administration has a recommendation of Polly Rico as the BFA excuse me, BFA principal effective July 1st, 2023. I believe Polly is on site, but she's not in the room right now, correct?
No, she's
Oh,
here.
she is. She
There she
is. Hey, Polly. And I just wanted to give the board the opportunity to ask her questions. We can go into executive session for this, and we can bring just the board and Polly in, and Bill, if you guys want to ask her any questions related to the principal position. So I guess I'm going to ask you what your pleasure is as a board. Would you like to go into executive session to ask any questions of Polly, or do you have any questions that you want to ask in public session? Or
Nilda, maybe I can just give an overview of the process. Casey would normally be here, but he's on vacation, and that might help people to give some think time and then give them a little more information that wasn't in the packet.
perfect.
Okay, so as you know, with our principal, we were all just through this with the city school principal hiring, but we start with our stakeholder involvement and input process, where we had nights where we worked with staff, parents, guardians, community members to talk about what are the characteristics and traits and skills and knowledge we seek in a principal for BFA. That was then taken, put together, and prioritized by the folks that were in those. There were two different sessions, one for staff and one for parents and community members. And from the staff forum, we had about 15 participants. In the community forum, we didn't have any participants. But from that was put together. An interview committee of 12 was happened.
No participants?
No community participants. It was well advertised all over social media. So from that, we had a committee of 12 that included Heather Fitzgibbons. We had professional staff, we had a special educator, math, teacher science, teacher history teacher, 2 students and 2 parents. The committee charge was to forward candidates that met the skills and knowledge and traits that we're looking for. From our ad, we had 7 candidates who applied for the position, and we had 1 withdrew before the committee came together, and 2 candidates were offered interviews. 1 was offered a position at another school, so we had Polly was our one interview. Following the interview, the committee discussed both the strengths and weaknesses, and did we feel like we could go through with where we were in the process, or did we need to restart? And the committee felt like we were in a good place. Then Polly came, while she works at BFA, she also came back and spent a day, the Monday before break, interviewing with Student Voices group, which is the student reps that you see here. Staff had the opportunity to ask questions. We had about 20 staff there. We had a community forum to ask questions, and we received a lot. We didn't have a significant turnout for that event. I think there were a few people. We also gathered a lot of feedback from everyone, and there was strong support for Polly to be moved on and for my recommendation. Some of the highlighted feedback. Ms. Rico loves the students. I think she loves them so much that she gives up her own love for teaching to help other teachers in order to benefit her students even more. And that's what talking about her being an instructional coach for teachers. she has a way of creating respect, and I think it's something we need. She's repeatedly talked about high expectations that she has for students and staff, but indicated how important it is to have supports in place to meet those high expectations. She understands climate and systems that are in place. Her mantra of high expectations, high support. And then her knowledge of the they've said repeatedly in places, her knowledge of the BFA community and capacity to collaborate with the community. So those are some of the things that feedback we have received. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions about the process? Okay, so what's your pleasure as a board? Would you like to ask Rico any questions, public, private, executive session?
I guess, no, I'd like to know how she feels about it. Do you feel comfortable answering questions?
Sure.
Well, then let's
Yeah.
just do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
In public, is that what you're saying?
in public.
Yeah,
If she
okay,
feels
yeah.
comfortable in public, let's just be open.
Well, I would have to advise you as your executive, there's very little you can ask her in public in a job interview. You need to be in executive session. I have to
Okay.
protect the organization.
Then we don't have a choice.
So Neil, sorry, go ahead, Susan.
I agree that if we're asking questions, it should be in
Okay.
executive session.
Yeah, and keep with what we have been doing. So Neil, the executive session, I guess people would like to do?
Okay, sounds good. And do we want to do that now, or do we want to get through the agenda? We probably should do it now, right?
No, let's do it at the end. Is that okay?
We can do it at the end. I don't think this is going to take us very long to get through the.
That's what I mean. Let's just wrap this up, please, if you're okay with that.
Right.
Sorry.
Reminder that the next meeting, which is on March 8th, will be the board organizational meeting, and that's when we elect a chair, vice chair, clerk, and a bunch of other things that we have to detail who's going to do what, or what is going to do what, depending on what we're talking about. So please think about those. And
Nilda, excuse me. I heard you say March 8th, and it's actually March 15th is the next meeting.
Oh.
Yes.
we've had this discussion before.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, we moved this. I know that we did this, March 15th. Thank you for that correction.
That's all right.
And you have in your packet a sheet of, blocks that we have to fill out with information. Next item is driver's education side letter. You have in your packet a copy of the side letter that was generated in order to offer Paul Talley the position of driver's ed instructor for a temporary period of time while we search for a candidate. So I guess I need, it says in the, do we have to set the rate, Bill? Because I saw in my agenda that we're supposed to set the rate. The pay rate, I wouldn't know where to begin on that. So,
I don't think you need to. I think that's something that we do here
Right.
okay,
in the business office and the HR.
I would be fine with that. I need a motion, please, to recommend to approve the driver's education side letter as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second. Katie,
Thanks,
second.
Katie. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion, which is to approve the driver's ed side letter as submitted in your packet, are gonna signify by me calling their name so they can tell me how they feel. Grant,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Joanna,
Yes.
thank you. Katie,
Yes.
thank you. Peter,
Yes?
thank you. Susan,
Yes.
thank you. Nina,
Yes.
thank you. Charles,
Yes.
thank you. Suzanne,
Yes.
thank you. And Nilda votes yes, so the side letter is approved. Next item on the agenda is other business. You have in your packet the warrants, which are in most packets, and I need a motion, please, to approve the warrants, acknowledging that passage of the motion will act as authorization and signature of any individual board member participating remotely. Motion,
So
please.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion related to the warrants? Okay, I need to take a vote on that. So all those, if you approve, say yes. Grant,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Joanna,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes?
Suzanne,
Yes.
I mean Susan, excuse me, I meant to say Susan. Thank you. Sorry. Nina,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Suzanne.
Yes.
Nilda votes yes, so the warrants are approved. Next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Bill.
Yeah, I have a couple of things to inform the board about. Last week, I think it was last week. I was called to the Senate Education to testify about online learning. Maple Run has quite a reputation of being one of the leaders in the state of online learning for students and being able to access that. They were considering a bill that would have put more money into online learning, and it really was kind of a question of online learning can replace anything. And my testimony really was around how online learning is appropriate for the right type of learner, and that it's not just buy the online license to do something. At BFA, we're very fortunate to have Scott Coolidge, a great part of his job, along with helping multiple other pathways for students to learn, is he supports students in being able to access those online courses. So that was a great discussion. Lynn Coda from Franklin Northeast was there as well with me, and it was interesting to see them, the Senate Ed really kind of start to think about that. Is that an alternative to certain classes? And it is and it isn't. It really depends more on the individual student. And we have some students that I had a great interview with. They use online classes and it really fits them. They have a motivation, whether it's a motivation for the subject they're learning or it's allowing them to have flexibility other places in their schedule. And they say, I want to take this online class that allows me to do something else. We've had a history of students who have done it because of sports or co-curricular activities that they wanted to be able to do. We've had it because one of our seniors right now is accessing BC Calculus, which he could take through CCB, but it fits in his schedule better to use the online option. So, or sometimes the interest where we have a senior right now, she's learning about, she's really using about the history of American music, and it's helping her for an arts credit. So just something that we don't offer, but she has a real chance to do something she really enjoys, and she's a dancer at one of our dance studios, so it fits with what she's doing. The other thing I wanted to let you all know, our firearms procedure is up on the web. It took quite a while, and we need to go through quite several iterations and also attorney review, but it is up there posted, so it's one of the things you would ask me as a board to make sure we got done.
Any board members have questions for Bill? Next item is board announcements.
You were gonna go.
Well,
I'll
I have something.
Well,
Does anybody-
Grant does.
I'll say something.
Can you wait till I say something?
Yeah.
Sure.
I think it'll fit that.
Should we go at the same time?
I wanted to take a moment to thank you, Grant, for your participation on the school board for the last 3 years. As mentioned earlier, you're very well spoken, very organized. Your thought processes are a little bit out of the box, and that's what we need sometimes because we're so in the box. Your contributions have been many, and I think I heard at a previous board meeting that you might actually stay on to help us with our goals. So thank you very much. Grant, did you have anything you wanted to say?
Yeah, thank you, and thanks to the Maple Run community for giving me the opportunity to be on the board for a term. I really appreciate the chance to sort of help govern an organization that has done so much for me in my life, having been a student here, some years ago. So, thank you.
How many years ago, Rick?
Fewer years
You
ago
did just have a birthday.
Fewer years ago than you.
Oh, you're right.
Well, so just for the record, the first board meeting that Grant came to, I walked up to him and said, I went to school with your mother. That says it all, right? All right, and any other board comments, announcements?
Yeah, Nelda, I have something, and so how did you like all the meetings we have, or not a lot of meetings?
I think it's the right cadence.
It
I
is.
think 2 a month is the right amount to govern.
You want more?
To do what we do.
Your next turn?
My next term.
But thank you, Grant. It's been great to have you on the board. Breath of fresh air. And good luck to you. Okay, Nelda, I'm done.
Anyone else? Well, thank you all. At this point, agenda for future meetings. Does anyone have anything they want to list on this? Well, you can always email me that too. And now I need a motion to go into executive session for a personnel matter. This meets the criteria of the open meeting law due to personnel matters being allowed to be discussed only in executive session. Motion, please.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you. Any discussion? We need to take that vote again. Grant,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Joanna,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes?
Susan,
Yes.
Nina,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Suzanne.
Yes.
Nilda votes yes. So we're going to go into executive session, follow the instructions on your screen, board members. And Bill and Polly are going to go into a different room, and we're going to get brought in via, well, I guess I'm going to be brought in via the instructions on the screen.
Yeah.
I can see you.
Okay, so Joanne and I were chatting in the other room. And all of a sudden I thought the breakout room was going to close in like 2 seconds, so I quick bailed out, but somebody might need to bring her back.
She's here.
She's here.
Oh, good. Thank you. Sorry, just taking care of you. All right. So everybody's in the room. We had our discussion. Are we ready to take a vote?
Yes.
All right. So I am looking for a motion to accept the recommendation to hire Polly Rico as Bellisbury Academy principal effective July 1st, 2023.
So
I'm going to make that motion. Thank you, Joanna. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Jack. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote on Grant.
Yes.
All right, Jack,
Yes.
Joanna,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes?
Susan,
Yes.
Nina,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Suzanne,
Yes.
Nilda votes yes. Motion carries unanimously. Welcome to
Thank you so much.
Nilda, can I say one thing? Just
No.
to get. No, thanks.
We're done.
No, I'm trying to get you out of here, but I just thought it's important to recognize that Polly is the first woman principal of BFA in its history. There was during 1943 to 1944, there was a woman, Alice, I should have my glasses out, Alice Chandler, that served as interim between 43 and 44.
I want to meet her.
Yeah.
And they were called headmasters then, right?
Say that again?
They were called headmasters at that time.
They were called headmasters at that point, but I think it's appropriate for us to recognize that.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
It's great.
Great, thank you. All right, are there any items to come before, other items to come before the board? Hearing none, I want you all to get out and vote if you haven't already, and the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Grant, you get to take your